All right. So, welcome to what we're going to be calling marriage matters. Because marriage matters and you matter. Therefore, we have to take on these matters, and there are many matters of marriage we're going to discuss
Yeah.
today. I just want to take the opportunity to introduce Brother Sylburn, right? Sylburn Arthurs. It's interesting that your last name is Arthurs, and you are also an author. I mean, it must be uh divine that you're supposed to be an author because your last name is Arthur. I think it meshes well, my brother.
Nice play on words.
But on your end, do you have a video ready for us?
Oh yes, I have a video that I want to share. It's so in about 3 seconds we should have it going.
I had an older lady tell me she's, I think, just past 40, and her husband, I think, is like in his late 30s, like so maybe like 41 and 39. They've been married for a while. I was talking with her about some problems we were having in our marriage, and she said, Joyce, what it sounds like to me is that your issue is that you are married to a real man, and a real man is not going to be ruled by a woman. And that hit me like a ton of bricks, and it immediately came to my mind when I was reading this excerpt. When she says, don't go down the path of expressing criticism, disapproval, and an ultimate lack of acceptance for your husband because it may cause rebellion, she's telling the truth. A real man is not going to allow himself to be a pushover to the woman he has chosen.
Brother, what are some of your thoughts when you first looked at this video? I'm gonna give you the space to share a little bit.
Yeah, that's it's so packed with so many things, and I'm not sure where to start. But one of the things that she said that was it was a very strong statement that you can't push your husband around because he is a real man. And so here we have a lady with the belief that if you can't push your husband around, you're a real man. There's a very negative connotation to that. And there's a different understanding whenever you look at a man and a woman's relationship. So I would like to start off with the incubator or the mirror principle. And that says that a man's wife is his mirror. And I would even go as far as to say, to be clear, that a man's common law wife, the woman he lives with, is his mirror. She is his incubator. You want to know what they were doing? You check to see what she is giving to you. So if you see a lady with a child, that means that man gave her a sperm. Okay? And it goes on. If you give a lady flour, you will end up with bread. She will take it, multiply it, and give back to you more than you gave her in the first place. So to advise a young woman to not complain and to not evaluate or not to share how she is feeling is telling her to be silent while she is going through pain and turmoil. Don't say anything. And I find that to be similar to saying you're driving your car down the road and you hear a noise. And the advice to the car would be, shut up. Don't advise your driver that something is wrong because you will be met with rebellion. So don't say anything. Don't put on any check engine light. Don't say anything. That advice to me is very similar to what this lady in a good heart, she gave advice to a young woman coming up, and it is not the best advice that she got.
Yeah. I like the analogy you used about the car. I mean, if you ignore your warnings on the dashboard, especially if it is a crucial warning, before long your car is going to pull you aside. So Yeah, if you ignore the warnings today, you may end up hitting a dead wall tomorrow, right? So
Yes. And we have a lot of traffic accidents happening in our country. I think just last night there was one, and I don't know the cause of it.
mm-hmm.
Whenever I drive around the city being trained in auto mechanic, and I see two things that
Mm-hmm.
bother me. And one of them
Mm-hmm.
is we have to understand that if we purchase a tire and that tire is
Mm-hmm.
second hand, we cannot
Mm-hmm.
go on the highway and run that tire 80 miles an hour.
With the second-hand tires at 80 miles an hour on the highway is not a good idea.
It is something that if you have to buy it, then it would be good to understand what you have on your car. Not because it is cleaned and washed and you just bought it means that it can go the speed rating that it would have been able to
Mm-hmm.
go was it brand new.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I believe that we have a lot of accidents in our country because of people not understanding you cannot drive on it like it's brand new. Yeah, another thing that scares me is when I see you're driving around and you see a car broken down on the side of the road right inside the city, and the wheel has fallen off, and it's because of a bad or broken front end, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually say to myself, thank God that that happened in the city,
Mm-hmm.
because if you were on the highway doing 80, 90 miles an hour and that same thing happened, we would have a different story, you see.
Mm-hmm.
And and so I see it almost as mercy for it to happen in the city. Now if you look at that car, that owner of that car probably drove that car and the end began to go loose and become slack, and so it makes noise when he goes or she goes into holes, and the noise gets louder and louder, and if the driver ignores that noise or rebels against that noise, doesn't change the fact that something is wrong. That noise is a communication to the driver that something is wrong.
Yeah.
And if you don't deal with it, that part is going to get you in some serious trouble. And so that's why I don't appreciate the advice given to this young person that you know, just suck it up. Basically, that's what she's being told. Just accept it and don't evaluate, or you'll be met with rebellion.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I see that.
Yeah. Yeah. When I first looked at the video and looked at it a couple of times, one of the first things that I realized is she was receiving wisdom from this older woman's experience. And I think there's a place for experience. I think there is wisdom that we can gain from experience and other people's story and all of that. But one thing I always remind myself and I tell people is that your experience was true, but it's not the truth. All right. Some people like I can't make my experience a standard for everybody. But at the same time, what I experienced was true, right? It happened. It really did happen, but it's not the truth. And so, I think when I was looking at that, I think we cannot take away from the person's experience, but to take that and make that one individual's experience the standard by which all relationships and marriage, and by which we're gonna define a real man, okay? To define a real man based on one individual's experience, I don't think it's necessarily wise. And I think you know this as more than I do, that marriage and relationships are not as black and white as we would like it to be. It's not as black and white.
That's right.
There's a lot of nuances in it. It's very dynamic. Situations change. But yet, though, that does not take away the fact that there needs to be some standard by which
That's right.
there needs to be a standard by which a man, a real man, because I'm going to use the term they use in the video, a real man, and also a real woman, and even a real marriage, right? A relationship. There has to be a standard by which an accurate standard, a consistent standard by which we need to be checking and gauging. Hey, am I a real man? Am I doing things right? Is this working? Because with the analogy that you use with the car, I remember a post a while ago that someone made that said my car is making noise, but I just turned up the music because I don't have the money, and that's how they quote unquote fixed the problem. They heard the clunking and they said, listen, this is how I fixed that noise. I turned up my stereo. Okay. I understand how it goes. Sometimes it's tough to get your car repaired right away because car expenses can be costly. But it's worth the investment in the longer run. So same way, just trying to sweep issues under the rug is not going to fix it either. So what I bring that back because if I take my car to a friend that knows a little bit about cars, maybe the experience they've had, and this has happened to me, right? Something happened to our car, and I call a brother, and I'm like, man, my car isn't starting, and he come over. I said, I think it's this. It appears to be this, and it seems to be this, but until you take it to the mechanic and these guys scan it or they do a real legitimate check, then I know what's wrong. So again, experience has its place as I listen to the video, but it's not right. We can't cast a definition of what a real man is and give how can I say this such an authoritative advice on someone's experience. So yeah.
Yeah, I like that in terms of saying what a real man is. I would like to say this. Whatever we look at dealing with cars, for example, the proper way to repair a vehicle, unless you know, is to go to the manual. And any product that is made, there is a manual that is made along with that product, and that product tells you, the manual tells you how to utilize the product, what to do, what not to do, and what to use, what not to use, what if it's electrical, it tells you what power outlet you need to use, what is how many volts, etc.
Right.
And so there's always a manual for anything that's created. And you can ignore the manual, but the manual is there so you can get the best from that product. So we are also that's products, and we come with a manual. And I just want to clarify that going forward, that our manual, it is called the Bible. I don't like to call it the Bible because I believe that has a very negative. Most people hear that they are turned off if they hear that word. But it's not a Bible. It's a manual that tells you what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what type of oil you should use in your engine, etc., etc. Right. And so in defining, I'm not sure if you're ready for us to define a man. Because I'm not ready for it, I would like to define something else.
Well, I would I would love to hear what you want to define, but to speak a little bit to just the manhood. I think there are many platforms today, many people taking on and attempting, I should say, to define manhood. There's the whole alpha male, beta male. There's a whole variety of people speaking into this issue of what a man is and a real man and all of that from different perspectives. But really and truly, and this may sound a little narrow-minded for some people, but there's really, I think there's you can define a man a awareness perspective, right? And then
Yeah.
of course, like you said, the manual's perspective. And that's when it's
Yeah.
simply you know, there's a lot of a lot of people make it complex, and they want to say, well, this and that. But there's to me, there's really there's two definitions, and of course there's a real one, right? That you can lean into.
Yeah.
And I'll say that for now. But I'm interested to hear what is it you want to dive into and define.
I have heard that in the video, the young lady was told that, you know, he's the reason why he's not putting up with your nonsense is because he's a real man. So the reason why the driver doesn't listen to the noises that the car makes is because he's a real driver. So
He's a
there's no
real driver, man. I mean, he's yeah.
yeah. So no need to listen. But I would like to take it into different levels. So you have the real man, and we're all males because we carry certain paraphernalia, no? That makes us male.
Sure.
And that to me is the lowest level that we function as. So a real man is not the problem here. Almost everybody is a real man. Almost all males are real men. So, but now you have a real man, which is the lowest level. The other level is having a father. Okay? And a father is different from a man. You can have a biological father that is not a father to you, and some coach or some stranger from somewhere else fathers you. So, and that is not to say that your father is not a man. He's a man. But that doesn't make him a father. It's not automatic. It's automatic in terms of he donated a sperm and he's your biological father. That is automatic.
Right.
But fathering someone is not being a man, a real man. It is higher than being a real man. And then you can go higher than fatherhood, but fatherhood is still a part of this. And the third level is being a husband. Because what good of a father can you be if you and the mother cannot get along? And now you are taking knives and guns and bats and fists, and you're taking it out on that woman in front of the child. And the child wake up to argument every day, not feeling safe. But you're a good father to the child. That is just level 2 to be a good father. And sometimes that level is hard for some of us to even reach. There needs to be time put in to teach on what a husband is, a good husband. And so a good husband is what is much better to define than a real man. Because a real man does make you a father, and a real man does make you a good husband.
Right.
So that is where I like to make, you know, to bring to light that there's a difference. So what are we looking for? Real men? Well, we have that. You can go in the army and you can find real men.
At least according to the flesh and according to the physical makeup, you can find a real man.
Yes.
Right.
Real man. They will have muscle because they do a lot of exercise. They can run far. They know to shoot a gun. They are real men. But does that make them real fathers? Does that make them real husbands? You know, if they go to this city and find a lady there and sleep with that lady because they just want to relieve themselves, that lady gets pregnant, they go back home. Are they being a real father? They are real men. They come back home, they are married to their wives, and they decide that their wives is now their lieutenant or their sergeant or their private. And so they come and they want to beat around their wives, or I'm not saying soldiers do this or all soldiers do this, but I'm just saying they fit the profile of what is said to be a real man, but that does not make you a real husband.
Yeah. And I think it comes back again to needing to have a there has to be a standard by, you know, I can't move away from that. There has
Yeah.
to be a accurate standard. I mean, I had a I had many examples and demonstration of what a real man is. Let me just a few, right? Just to
Wow.
kind of give us practically speaking here. Um,
Mhm.
if you are by the age of 18, if you have still maintained your virginity, you are not a real man according to the world. Okay.
Okay.
If you if you don't have, I mean, I'm not saying this is just experience, right? If you are
Yeah.
faithful to one woman according to word, you're not a real man. um if you are not uh making X amount of money and you have this kind of car, you know, there are many different levels of criteria that the world will try to gauge by to say that makes you a real man.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
uh if we come back to what, if we want to talk about the manual and what you're saying, I'm just saying this to build on what you're saying, because um a real man according to the flesh, that's not scarce. It's not
Yeah.
scarce today.
Right.
What is scarce is like you said, real husbands, real fathers, and there's a concept from the manual, right, from the Bible that says you have had many instructors but few fathers, and I like that
Yeah.
because an instructor just basically tells you what to do. It's not as intimate, but when you have a father
Yeah.
and even there and even a husband, it encompasses more. All right, so I like where you're going. I would love for us to do that. I think if time can permit us. So, what would you say are a few defining um marks of a real husband?
That's a very good question. And before I answer that, I would like to say, as you said earlier, there's no shortage of real men. So the numbers are huge with real men. And every man out there wants to be known as a real man and might fight for that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But there are a shortage of fathers.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
as you climb up the ladder now to husbands, then the numbers get really scanty. It gets really small. But I would like to drop back to the level of
Mm-hmm.
fathers, because the first thing that a
Okay.
man should be to his wife, a good husband, is a good father. You're actually a father to your wife. And I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying you're a father by pushing her around or spanking her or that type of thing. There are three things that make a father. One, he protects. That's his responsibility to protect his family.
Right.
Number two, he provides.
Mm.
So a father provides finance, provides shelter, provides food.
Mm-hmm.
That's the work of
Mm-hmm.
a father. And later on, we'll
Mm-hmm.
get into uh, the fact that now mothers have to provide, which is not written in the manual. But that's
Mm-hmm.
for another time. But the second thing a
Yeah.
father does is provide. And so a man should protect his wife. He should provide for his wife. And the third thing a father does is he gives identity.
Mm.
So a child looks to the father especially for identity. And think of it, when a man gets married, the first thing he does is change his wife's name. He gives her a
Right.
different identity.
Mm.
So everybody knew this person's wife as maybe Brown
Mm-hmm.
before she was married. Now she becomes married and her passport changes, her social security changes, her visa changes, everything changes to the new name. And
Mm-hmm.
that man gives identity. Before he does it for the children, he does it for his wife. So being a father
Mm-hmm.
is a first level, a lower level, but one of the first level of being a good husband. And being a good husband, I would prefer to
Right.
cut it down to one word. There's one word that makes a good
Mm.
husband, But don't mistake it to think that that one word is very easy. It's a very hard word. And it's actually a 4-letter word. The one word that makes a good husband is spelled Love. A good husband is a man that knows how to love his wife. Now, that might sound easy because all the love songs, all the movies, Hollywood especially, believe that we believe we understand what love is. But what we believe love is and what love actually is might be two very, very different things.
Yeah.
So that is what I would say makes a good husband. The word love.
Nah, I think you've properly answered, and I think you've properly answered, and I think you've properly set us up for our next session, because to get into what you just opened, we'll need to split that into a 3-course or a 6-course meal. but I think I love that answer, because it's the and he said something important, which is I think it's a team that has been going through this conversation, that it has to be a standard, because this person thinks this is love. Another train of thought would say this is love. One would say there is no love. But let's be clear. You refer to it as the manual and the Bible, but I think your answer is a great place for us to land today, but to also launch for our next session, because I do think that would be a great place to talk about the love, LOVE, what that looks like for men, what that looks like even for women, what it looks like for marriage, what it looks like for people on a whole. This word,
that's right,
love. And so we could dive into that one for our next session. I don't know if you have any closing thoughts for this one.
Yeah, I think it was a good one, and I would want to add that if you listen to the video closely, the older married lady told her these things while she came with some problems and concern that she was having in her relationship. So basically what happened there is her concerns and her emotions, her feelings, the things that were wrong. A mirror doesn't tell you lies. So it will take a very wicked woman, a very, very wicked woman, for that man, her husband, to be doing everything right, doing everything correct, and she will come and complain on him. She's a wicked woman. But this lady is complaining about things happening in their relationship that she's not happy about, and she was told to shut up. And so her needs were not met. And she has been programmed now that this is normal. A man that's a real man won't listen to your nonsense. Keep silent. And that is not something that will cause relationships to last forever. So as we go along, hopefully we can attack, as you said, things piece by piece, and help to create a different mindset, and help to strengthen marriages and relationships around the world. Because even if you're not married, you can still have a beautiful, long-lasting relationship. You might have an issue when you die if you're not married, but it doesn't mean that while you are alive and living together on this earth, that you can have a beautiful heavenly marriage.
Yeah. So I think I do think the taking on the whole issue of love, we'll actually see that if I'm believing when we engage love, and especially in terms of men and leadership and fathers and husbandhood, I think we're gonna find out that when a man leads by love, it makes space for his wife to feel safe to approach him. And I think so. We're gonna find out we're gonna find a lot of interesting things next time when we begin to unpack love and how that lands into husbandhood, fatherhood, marriage, and all of that. And so until next time, this has been Marriage Matters, and we look forward for the future convo and all the wisdom and truth that will be poured into that time. Until next time, God bless you guys.
Yeah. Take care.